problem. Okay, hello everyone. Seems like everything is going wrong. So I got the code and it's ready. So I know there's a severe traffic jam. So some people may be late. So today we are going to talk about the brief history of the US-Taiwan China relations. Before we get started, we are scheduled to have the group presentation starting from next week, right? However, most of the group members of the first team just dropped out of the class. So we will going to reschedule. So maybe we will start 2 weeks later. Okay, and we will announce some trial tests maybe today, so that the first group will the first group can prepare for the next 2 weeks. Okay, so yeah. Well, today I'm going to think and talk very slow because I did not feel very good today. First of all, there's an updated syllabus, and I put some of the resources online in the very end of the syllabus. So you can see that. So firstly, if you want to read more about the US-China-Taiwan relations or broadly the international relations, so you can see some of the links here. Okay. So first, I recommend you to subscribe to some of the how to say electronic newspaper. So Axios China. Axios is a media. It's a new media that is specifically designed for the new users on social media. So each news of Axios will be very short. Okay, and that will break up the long sentence into smaller pieces. So Axios is very, very good for readers like us because we are not used to read very long articles. Okay, so each news on Axios is very short. So it's specifically designed for you. Okay, so and they have an electronic newspaper called Axios China by a famous journalist, Stephanie. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but the Chinese name is Fei Shuyi. Okay. However, she just announced that just last, the Axios China newspaper will end very soon. So I don't know what's next for Axios China, but Axios, as a website, will go on. And Political China Watcher. So you can just Google it and put in your email, and then they will send you their news every day, every day or every 2 days. Will send you out. Okay. And that will put everything important related to China, US, and Europe. Okay. And then is Global Taiwan Institute. It is the think tank in Washington D.C. So Global Taiwan Institute is a DC-based think tank specifically for Taiwan issues. Okay? And it is the only one think tank that specializes in Taiwan issues. Okay, so and they have a newspaper called Global Taiwan Brief, which I think it's weekly or bi-weekly. And then they have a podcast called Global Taiwan Insights. So Global Taiwan Institute is if you have any chance, you can apply to their fellowship or the internship. and you can go there and to study in Washington D.C. And we have the podcast called Ghost Island Media, without the E. Okay, it's all in English. And if you have some money and you can pay for the Bill Bishop at Signal System, which is a paid newspaper, it's very popular among the policy circles in Washington D.C. Okay. 就是这些是那个电子报可以订阅的，就是你只要去订阅，他们就是定时寄东西到你的信箱。所以呢，非常的推荐大家，尤其是US-China， 但它因为它好像快要停开了，我不知道接下来会怎么样。然后 Political China-Taiwan 它是就是Political 是一家媒体，然后它就有很多的新闻，然后 Political China-Taiwan 它也是电子报，会帮你整理每天最重要的中国新闻。And here are some of the IR journals or policy papers you have to know. The two top IR journals about international relations. The first one is Foreign Affairs, and the second one is Foreign Policy. This is the top tier. I mean, every important debate will happen on foreign affairs. Okay, every important debate will go on there. So it's a very, very top journal. So I think our library has a subscription for that. So you can log into our library and then to type in foreign affairs and get in their database. In foreign policy, they have some of the policy reports on foreign policy. So on foreign affairs, there's no news. There's no news. That's all on the theories and all policy debates on foreign affairs. But there are some of the reports or some of the policy recommendations or policy investigation on foreign policy. So it's a little bit different. But those two are the most important ones. 就这两个是你要看国际关系跟尤其是台美关系最重要的那个杂志或者是期刊。And these two have to be paid, and sometimes you have to get extra steps by logging to the library. However, there are some more free electronic papers on these websites, and I highly recommend you to read their articles. So there are national interests, the diplomat. These two are highly popular as well. So it's a must read for everyone who are interested in international relations. Especially there are a lot of articles about Asia. So national interest and the diplomat. And then there are more specific ones on Asian affairs, like East Asia Forum, the Pacific Forum, or international relations. And we have the prospect and perspective by our Prospect Foundation, 远景基金会。远景基金会 I mean, that is I don't know how to describe it in Beijing, but it is it is a governmental think tank directly under our branch, the National Security Bureau. So you can see it as a vital top. So the semi-governmental institution of Beijing, and they regularly publish a lot of articles analyzing international politics. So a lot of useful articles there. And Yuan also provide a lot of articles in Mandarin, so very easy to read. And more specifically, you can read on these articles about the defense issues, like war on the rocks. They specifically debate about the national security, the military issues. Or you can see the defense force or real clear defense. That is under, I mean, real clear defense is associated with the DOD of the US, 是美国国防部下的那个网站。So you can see a lot of official policies and the debate on this website. And if you are interested in finance issues, you can look to Bloomberg or Nikkei Asian Review. A lot of finance news or finance issues here. And here are some think tanks. I think we frequently read articles from them. So CSIS, Brookings, Council on Foreign Affairs, German Marshall Fund. Especially there's a scholar named Bonnie Glaser. She's the most important scholar on cross-strait relations. Okay, Bonnie Glaser. So she's now under German Marshall Fund. So there are a lot of articles or policy papers from her. Well, Bonnie Glaser is who, the most frequently cited scholar of the US in Taiwanese newspaper, and also the most frequently miscited. She's always misinterpreted by the Taiwanese newspaper. So it's very interesting. And also our Blaine's Bonnie Glaser last year. It's a very interesting event. 就是如果你要看两岸关系，就是你要看 Bonnie Glaser 的东西，它就是最具权威性。然后个人的去年还直接跟他对骂。然后呢，他也是就是最常被引用或者被扭曲或者被抄袭的美国学者。And we can also look to other think tanks like Carnegie. How to say this? Please correct my pronunciation. Okay, it's Carnegie Endowment for International Peace and Peterson Institute for International Economies. And also there's a special one called RAND, R-A-N-D. That is a think tank, also is a company. They produce a lot of policy papers, especially on the military issues. So RAND, and so these are all from the American think tanks. And also there are some more like Lobby Institute from Australia or other think tanks from Europe. They are also very important. And broadly speaking, if you want to see more international news, you can see these news outlets like Washington Post, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, NPR, CNN, and so on. Okay. The Taiwanese version is you can see a lot of. If you want to read the international news, you can read news on Zhongyang. Also, there are English versions on Taiwan Plus. Taiwan Plus is a media. It's a video channels. And Taiwan News is very important because they provide a lot of English version of news. It's established by email. Okay. If you want to have advanced readings or longer readings, okay, you can see Atlantic and the New Yorkers. They have a lot of very long articles. Okay. And from the social media or the new media, you can see the US-China Watch, 转角国际报道者, or in 李志祺 and these new medias. Okay. And my suggestion is that please find one podcast, just pick one, whatever you like. Pick one podcast and listen to the news every day. Okay. And there are a lot of podcasts, and they do the 5 minutes or 10 minutes the word for you. So you can see that, for example, NPR, CNN, or New York Times, they have the very quick news. If you listen to that in 5 minutes, you can understand all the important events all over the world today. Okay, so every day you listen to just one. Okay, pick up just one news and one podcast to listen to that. Also, I started to listen to SDRT when I was in the college. I find it very useful. So in the beginning, you might not be able to catch up all of the content, but it's okay. As long as you keep listening, then you will find that you can catch up one day. Okay. 就是我给大家的建议就是呢，你每天至少要挑一个，就是那种帮你整理每天新闻， 然后 NPR、CNN、NYT 就是 New York Times、ICRT 都有那种，比如说5分钟新闻、10分钟新闻，你每天就听一个，你就听到5分钟，听到10分钟，你一开始可能会听不太懂，但也没关系，但是只要听完那5分钟，你就可以知道大概一整天的重要新闻是什么。OK。So any question about the new syllabus? So there are several items every week, and I will post some on the required one and some on the suggested one. So in each week we will have a weekly notes, and you pick just one from the required. If you want to pick one on the suggested one, I think it's okay. So you just pick one from the list and to have a note. Okay. Yeah. And also the first two books, 为什么我们要在意美国 also the US-China relations, they are alternative to each other. So it's okay that you only read one of them. Okay. So let's get started to the history. Oh, this is a small tip on the readings. So in English readings or English articles, you will see the structure of the argument is very similar. So what I mean is that you will always see this structure: the topic sentence, the body, and the conclusion. So in each article, maybe you think that it's very long and not easy to read, then you can quickly find out the main argument of that article. That is often from the very beginning of a paragraph. Okay, that is called topic sentence. Okay. 就是说你在看一篇文章的时候呢，你可以快速的把那篇文章或者是那一整段的重点找出来。那在英文的文章里面呢，一开始的那个 topic sentence 就是在前几句都会是它的重点。Okay, the topic sentence on each paragraph or each argument, each article is always in the very beginning of the sentences. They express the main idea of that paragraph or that article. And the structure often applies to a paragraph and the whole article. Okay? 就是不管是同一段或是同一篇文章，通常都是这个结构。You can find the topic sentence or the main argument of each paragraph and each article in the very beginning. Okay, so for the whole article, you can find the main argument on the very first paragraph of that article. Okay, 就是在一篇文章里面，你通常去看它的第一段或第二段，你就可以知道整篇文章在干嘛。Okay. 那在一个段落里面去看它的第一句或第二句，你看知道它整个段落在干嘛。你有一个那个大概的感觉之后，你就可以比较能够去读懂。Okay. So if you read for the first paragraph, you can have a broad idea of the whole article. Okay. And you read the first and second sentences, you will have a broad idea of the whole paragraph. Okay, so and then following the topic sentence, following the main argument, then you will see the body. That is to expand the whole argument. Okay, and then most of the time you will have a conclusion. That is to go back to the main argument. So you just understand this structure, and then you will that may help you to read the articles more smoothly. Okay? So this class is about the US-China-Taiwan relations. And recently we have seen very different images of Taiwan. The first one is that Taiwan is the most important place in the world, and there's a TSMC here. And then you will see Taiwan is also the most dangerous place in the world. Okay? Quite opposite image, right? So we are going to go through, I mean, ideally, in 2 or 3 weeks, we are going to go through what's behind this. Okay? How can Taiwan become the most important and also the most dangerous place in the world? Okay? By the way, next week we will have the 10th years anniversary of the cyber movement. Okay, in 2014, March 18th, I mean, a group of people just occupied the legislature, and they occupied for almost 1 month. Do you know that if there's no, let's imagine if there's no cyber movement, what happened to Taiwan? I mean, what happened to TSMC? I can tell you that if there's no cyber movement, and we will not have this class, we no longer need to discuss about Taiwan, because we are now an alliance of China, not the US. Okay? So, well, we will spend several weeks, and throughout the whole semester, we are going to talk about the tech war and the trade war between China and US. And if there's no cyber movement, you don't have to talk about this. 就是10年前太阳花运动打下了服贸，那我们现在才需要讨论这堂课。我们现在才需要讨论说我们跟美国是不是同盟。好，如果没有太阳花的话，我们现在是美国队。TSMC 会被紫光公司所收购，然后我们现在就不用再讨论这些。OK。This is a picture, this is a slide that I used to introduce to foreign friends, or when I give a talk to foreigners. So Taiwan, well, compared to with other countries, so let's find another similar countries here. So the area of Taiwan, 面积, is similar to what countries? Area. You can find we are very similar to Belgium, Switzerland, and the Netherlands. Okay， 就是我们的面积跟比利时、荷兰一样大。Our population is similar to what countries? Similar to Australia， 就是我们跟澳洲差不多大。And our economy is similar to Switzerland, Spain, Turkey, and so on. We ranked 22nd in the world. Okay, 这是我们的 GDP 排名在全世界20。In the military, the size of the military or the advanced level of the military is similar to our country. You can imagine Canada. Okay, so Taiwan is not small. It's not small. It's we have area, population, economy, and military to many advanced countries. Okay. And I always started from this picture. Okay. So this is Suzhou University. Our English name is Suzhou University, right? And it's established in the year 1900, and from at Suzhou, the city of, Suzhou is the name of the region, right? And the name of the region, the ancient name is Dongwu. Okay, and then re-established 1954 at Taipei. Can you imagine at that time, at this place, what is so special about this place? We are near the National Palace Museum, and also we are very near Chiang Kai-shek's home, Silingguan, right? So you can imagine that our school, our board of the school has a very close relationship with Chiang Kai-shek. Okay, you can imagine that because Chiang Kai-shek led us to re-establish here, very near to National Palace Museum, also very near to where he lives. It's very important. So where is academic SNC? 中研院. It's very far away, right? 中研院 is in Nangang. And Nangang was, I mean, nothing there. I mean, back in the 1950s, nothing. I mean, it's a remote area, okay? Because Chiang Kai-shek doesn't like Wushi. So he hates Wushi, so he puts Wushi in a very far away place. But we have a very good place here near Wushi. So Suzhou University, there's another Suzhou University in China. So we have the same name, which is well confusing. I mean, because when the faculty members had to attend the international conference, we always got confused because they have the same English name, but the Chinese name is Suzhou, not Dongwu. Okay. I use this as an example to say that there are two Chinas after the Civil War. Okay. So after the World War II, China went into a civil war between Chiang Kai-shek's KMT and also Chinese Communist Party by Mao Zedong. So they are fighting with each other, and we see that. Well, I use this picture to say that the Chinese National Party, that is KMT, they signed the peace treaty with CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, several times. Okay, they signed the peace treaty several times. However, each time after they signed the treaty, then CCP will attack Chiang Kai-shek. Okay， 就是刚才那段应该蛮简单的，就是说下午就是有两个，以前就是有两个总统，因为有内战的关系。那国民党跟中共之间签了很多次的和平协议，但是每次签完和平协议之后呢，中共就继续攻击这样子，就是意思是说，跟他签和平协议是没有用的，反正就是会一直攻击。And we all know the result of the Civil War is that Chiang Kai-shek's KMT was defeated and fled to Taipei. This is a very unique case that in a civil war, the government or the party or institutions was destroyed. However, they have a whole new chance to start over again in another place. We cannot, it's very difficult to find another case. You can say like Taiwan, or you can say like ROC, the Republic of China. It's very unique because oftentimes in the civil war, the one who was defeated, you just flee because you can become in exile and you can no longer go back. Okay, but there's a chance that Chiang Kai-shek fled to Taipei, to Taiwan, and start over again to re-establish another government. Okay. So we will have a discussion about the nature of these two countries and the nature of ROC. Republic of China. This country was, our country. Okay. This country was established in 1912, 1912, right? However, when this country, when ROC was defeated and then freed to Taiwan, is this country the same with the one which is established in 1912? 就是1949年逃到台湾的这一个 ROC 跟1912年的那个 ROC 还是同一个 ROC 吗？ Okay, let me repeat again. So this country ROC was established in 1912 as a capital in Beijing, right? This was overthrown the Qing dynasty and established ROC. Is it in Beijing or Nanjing? In 1912, where is the capital? Please Google that. Okay, I'm confused because previously the ROC was the capital is Nanjing, right? So, whatever. And after 1949, when Kennedy was defeated, and ROC was re-established in Taiwan, is this country the same with the one which is established in 1949? No, in 1912. So the 1912 ROC and the 1949 ROC, are they the same? I will leave this question for you, and we will discuss 3 weeks later. Okay? Okay. My answer is no. My answer is they are not the same country. Okay, we will get in details in the coming weeks. Okay, so after ROC went to Taiwan, what happened? At that time, the U.S. did not support Chiang Kai-shek. Why? Because, well, during the Civil War, the U.S. seen that there's no, very low level of the willingness to fight. Because after the World War II, okay, what happened in World War II? So the World War II is a fight between, in the China's territory, it's a fight between KMT, the KMT-led ROC with Japan, right? And during that time, Mao Zedong has a very famous quote that is, 三分抗日, he spent very little efforts to fight against Japan. And then he spent a lot of efforts on organizing and develop his own organizations and develop CCP. Okay, 三分, but I don't remember that. But very small amount of the efforts is on fighting against Japan, and most of the efforts is fighting or to organize the CCP. Okay. So most of the efforts of fighting against Japan is on ROC government, and most of the time CCP does organize and develop its own institution. And after the World War II, everyone is tired. Nobody wants to fight anymore, and there are very severe corruption issues of the government. Because you can imagine that after 8-10 years of fighting or in the war, so everyone is suffering. Okay, nobody wants to have a war again. And here comes Mao Zedong of CCP and telling the farmers, telling the local people that we will offer you stability, we will offer you some more better life, and follow me, and I can bring you a better life. And they started to plan to replace ours. So after the Civil War break up, then the Americans give Chiang Kai-shek a lot of aid. Okay, but they started to find out that Chiang Kai-shek's military, Chiang Kai-shek's government had a very severe corruption issue. So most of the American aid to Chiang Kai-shek was going to the private pocket. Okay, so they just stopped giving aid to Chiang Kai-shek. 就是在内战当中，原本美国人非常支持蒋中正，但是这个其实蒋中正跟蒋介石一样，但是后来就是因为贪污太严重了。那个时候有什么四大家族，蒋家嘛，还有什么，反正宋家什么之类的，就是把所有的这个美元都拿去贪污的，就是都放进自己口袋，所以美国人就很生气，就不想要关注他。然后而且中华民国的军队跟政府跟人民其实都不想再打仗。Okay, so for the Americans that time, they did not identify communists as threats yet. Okay, after the rise of the Soviet Union, they started to realize that they had to contain the development of the communists. However, as the Civil War era, they haven't identified this. So they started to cut off the military aid to Chiang Kai-shek. So you can see very similar debates nowadays on whether the U.S. wants to have the aid to Ukraine. Okay, all of the debates is very similar. 就是我去看今天美国要不要去援助乌克兰这个内容，他们的讲的东西跟那个时候在辩论的东西几乎是一模一样。Okay, so you will see that a lot of U.S. Congresspersons they are blaming the Ukrainian government of corruption, and their their willingness to fight is decreasing. Also, they do not want to spend too much money on the foreign government. The Americans has already spent about, I think it's about 65 billion US dollars to Ukraine. 就是650亿美金给乌克兰，可是乌克兰却有很严重的贪污问题，然后他们的这个战力也不足。Okay, so when the U.S. started to find out that the country that do not want to fight for themselves, then they were starting to decrease the aid. So it's very similar cases here. Like they just cut off the aid to Chiang Kai-shek, and then Chiang Kai-shek started to lose the battles in the mainland. Okay, and also there's a tradition of isolationism. So the U.S. is very far away from everywhere in the world. Okay, so they tend not to interfere in the other countries' affairs, especially in the civil wars. So the U.S. just abandoned, and you can see USA abandoned Chiang Kai-shek in the civil war. So this is the result. The result is that he lost all of the mainland. Here comes another critical juncture in the cross-strait relations, that is the Korean War. Before the Korean War, let's go back to 1949 in Taiwan. Everyone in Taiwan, everyone in the world, think that, well, China is going to take over Taiwan very soon. Sooner or later, it's just a matter of time. It will happen. Okay? Nobody can save Chiang Kai-shek because you were just defeated. You do not have any working institutions. You do not have a working military. You do not have equipment. You do not have any resource to maintain your governance in Taiwan. So it's just a matter of time. 那1949年的时候，大家在这个台湾，在全世界都觉得说，反正中共要来解放台湾是迟早的事了。OK， 这个是因为蒋介石就是被打败。OK， but the critical juncture is Korean War. So in 1950, the North Korea just invaded South Korea. So it's very soon that in 3 months, it's almost occupied all of the peninsula here. And the U.S. started to find out it's a crisis. So the U.S., led by General MacArthur, just fight back. And the U.S. is just the U.S. military is always effective, so it's fight back very soon, very quickly. However, the General MacArthur had a mistake here because when the U.S. fight back, and fight back maybe too much, it threatens China, threatens Mao Zedong. So Mao Zedong thinks that, if China does not help North Korea, then it's highly possible that the U.S. coming from here and cross the Yangtze River and then to attack Beijing. It's very close, right? Here, it's very close to Beijing. So China started to get in the war, making complicated issues here. So let me finish this. So after the breakout of the Korean War, you see that the U.S. started to consider Taiwan as an ally because Taiwan is, the place here is in the middle of the first island chain. The first island chain is a line, an imagine line from Japan to Taiwan to Philippines and to the South China Sea. What is this line for? What is the purpose of this line? Well, to defend against what? Against communists, right? Communist China, communist North Korea, communist Russia. So the US starting to find out that it's very dangerous because the communist is expanding very quickly. So you have to draw alliances from South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, and here. The first island chain. And there's a second island chain from Japan to Guam and to Palau. Okay. And also there's a third chain to Hawaii. Okay. So because of the Korean War, the US reconsidered Chiang Kai-shek as an alliance. Okay. Let's have a break for 10 minutes.
对
It's a question for today. Sorry, that's a Mandarin one. I cannot find the English version. This is not a test. Just want to see how do you perceive 1992 consensus and also the status quo. Oh, I got the English version. So let me. So I got the English version for the second one, so you can update that. You can refresh the page. So, what is 1992 consensus? So what is a consensus? What defines a consensus? This should be something that everyone agrees on, right? So everyone agrees on something. That is a consensus. You agree, I agree, everyone agrees. That is a consensus. Okay? So if you see the consensus, I mean, how China, the Chinese officials defines 1990 consensus and how KMT defines 1990 consensus, you will see a very different interpretation. Is that a consensus? Okay, that is first. And second, you see that people have a very diverse perception on the 1990 consensus. Okay, so we will define this later in this class if we have time. But you will see a very different one. So the first one is on international affairs. Both ROC and PRC claim to represent the whole Chinese people, including both mainland China and Taiwan. Okay. The second one is ROC represent Taiwan, PRC represent the mainland. The two governments belong to the same country. And we will unify someday in the future. The third one is ROC represent Taiwan, PRC represent the mainland. The two governments belong to two different countries. Is that 1990 consensus? That is one country. That is equal. That is Taiwan independence. Okay. But majority of people choose this. Okay. Which one is the official policy under KMT? Actually, it's the second. Okay. So the KMT official, the KMT ideology or KMT stance is that Taiwan, the region of Taiwan, the island, and the mainland belongs to one country, that is China. Okay, and that country, that China, will unify someday. Someday. They do not define a specific time. But both Taiwan and the mainland, the area, the land, belong to one country. That is one China. That is what KMT means, one China. So both Taiwan and mainland belong to one China. That is a country. Okay? For the orange one, that is Taiwan is Taiwan, China is Taiwan, and China is China. They are two different countries. It's not national consensus. This is Taiwan independence, and China is very angry about this. Okay, this is no way that China thinks this is a consensus. Okay, and what is the fourth one? PRC is the whole Chinese people, both mainland and Taiwan. Ours is a local government. Well, the green one is the PRC stance of the One China principle. Okay? So, well, you will see that the consensus is a very confusing term here. Okay, so similar results. So here. So about the political and lawful status of for Taiwan, you see, let's see this. The majority of people think that practically ROC and PRC have become two countries since 1949. Yeah, I also endorse this statement. However, there are still a diverse opinion on this. Well, because of there are diversities of this opinion, so it's still very interesting to study the US-Taiwan-China relations. If there's a majority, then we do not have to study anymore, right? Okay. So the blue one, Chinese people do not have their own country. The current ROC's ruling is illegal. What is this stand for? this is I define as a deep green status， 就是深绿，就是深绿的台独 ，deep green Taiwan independence. These people oppose the legitimacy of ROC. Okay, so I mean ROC government, the Republic of China government, is illegal for deep green people. They do not recognize it as an illegal government because after 1949, the Chiang Kai-shek government illegally taking over Taiwan, and because of that, we should rebuild another new country called Taiwan Republic. So this is from the deep green people. Deep, I mean 深绿. Okay. So what is 浅绿 or the light green? The light green people also want to build another new Taiwan country or Republic of Taiwan or in other names, Republic of Formosa, something like that. However, the light green people recognize ROC. Okay? So if you look at into President Tsai Ing-wen's many important speeches like the Double Tenth Day, National Day speech, or the New Year speech, Yuandan, or inauguration speech, in Tsai Ing-wen's speech, you will see that she always says that in the history of 70 years of ROC. So 70 years means that the starting point of ROC begins in which year? 1949. Okay? So in Tsai Ing-wen's view, or in current DPP's view, the ROC begins at 1949. That is, the legitimacy of ROC is recognized by the current DPP government. However, this government, this country is different from the 1912 ROC. Okay, it's a current view of DPP. But for KMT, we will see that the 100-year ROC. So what is the 100 years comes from? 1912. Okay, so it's very totally different viewpoint of the history. Okay, so for this one, so the red one, ROC is the only China. Both Taiwan and mainland are part of it. It's the official stance of KMT. Okay, so ROC will, still have the whole China. Okay, and you will see that, for example, former President Ma Ying-jeou says that the cross-strait relations is not international relations because China and Taiwan are not two countries. We cannot say that it's another country, so it's not international relations. Okay, this from this point of view. Okay, and the purple one is PRC is the only China. Both Taiwan and mainland are part of it. CCP's position. Okay, so again, most of people. In the poll, we find that most of people, about 70% of people, think that Taiwan, under the name of ROC, is a sovereignty country right now. This is called so-called status quo. However, because there are a lot of, everyone can define its own status quo, so you can have different interpretations. So imagine that the Korean War changed the fate of Taiwan, or changed the fate of Chiang Kai-shek, and the U.S. starting to help again. But here's a tricky thing that let's go back to the World War II. So during the World War II, there was a convention called Cairo Declaration. That is from a Cairo meeting from Chiang Kai-shek, Roosevelt, the U.S. President, and also Churchill, the English Prime Minister. They they meet in Cairo, Egypt, and then decided to urge Japan to return the occupied territory and return to China. Okay? Return to China. This China is ROC, right? Because the PRC hasn't yet been established. So, return the occupied territory to China. And Cairo Declaration is, the nature of it is a press communique. That is a 新闻公报, not a treaty. They do not sign anything, but it's a 新闻公报. Okay? So here comes the problem. If Taiwan, occupied by Japan and returned to China, returned to ROC, right? If Taiwan is part of China, and if China has a civil war, there's no way that the US can intervene. Because a country cannot intervene in another country's domestic issues, right? Well, you see that in 1949, Taiwan should return to China, ROC. And then, during the Civil War, the US cannot intervene. 就是如果台湾属于中国 ROC， 但是 ROC 中国现在发生内战，那根据国际法，你是不能够去这个干涉人家的内战的。OK， 台湾属于谁？那你中国内战自己打一打，说了算。Okay, so here comes a legal problem for the U.S. that if they want to cooperate with Chiang Kai-shek again, well, this is our answer. You should change this, or else you cannot intervene. You cannot do this because both Taiwan and China belongs to China, belongs to ROC. So how? The U.S. tried several things to change that status. Okay. In this treaty, 1951 to 1952 Treaty of the Peace with Japan, that is also known as the 旧金山合约, the Treaty of San Francisco. Okay, Treaty of Peace with Japan. They specify Taiwan as an undetermined territory. That is, in the Cairo Declaration, the three countries, China, ROC, the British and the US, they request Japan to return their territory to their own country, to China, and also return their occupied territory to Southeast Asian countries and also to Russia. Return to China. However, in this treaty, the island of Taiwan, Japan give up the sovereignty on these islands, but they do not specify the belongings. Okay, in the treaties. 就是说，他并没有写说他放弃之后要给谁。Okay. Although Japan do give up the sovereignty over these occupied territories, but they do not specify which will be these occupied territories belong to. Okay. So from return to China, that is very clear, right? Taiwan should be given back to China. But in the following treaties, they do not specify who will own China, who will own Taiwan, the territory. OK， 就是台湾岛这块土地属于谁？在国际法上，美国故意的让它变成 undetermined. OK， so the U.S. purposely made the island of Taiwan, the island of Tongtu, the status as undetermined, so that they can intervene, they can cooperate with Chiang Kai-shek. Okay, if Taiwan is belonging to China, then in the Civil War, it's a domestic issue. So the U.S. cannot intervene. Okay? So it's very important in the international law. So they have to decide this. Okay? Okay. So right now, I always argue that KMT stance on the one China policy is very dangerous for Taiwan because if, just like our former President Ma Ying-jeou said, that Taiwan is part of China, we should unify someday in the future. Then, think of this, if CCP, if China attacks Taiwan, can other countries carry it? The answer is no. Because if Taiwan is part of China, then it is a domestic issue. You do not have any authority to do that. Okay? So it's very dangerous again. Okay? So, 旧金山合约，台湾地位未定论是从这里来的。台湾地位未定论，日本放弃了领土，却没有说放弃给谁。Okay? And then in the following Sino-Japanese Peace Treaty, Sino is ROC, right? That time, ROC still represents all China, so Sino, China is ROC. The Sino-Japanese Peace Treaty, also known as the Treaty of Taipei, that is 中日合约, officially ends the war between China and Japan after World War II. Okay? Again, Japan just give up all the sovereignty and all the occupied territories, but do not specify who who owns this territory. So these treaties just legalize the undetermined status of Taiwan, as specifically designed for the U.S. to intervene. Okay. And then in 1954, there's a Sino-American Mutual Defense Treaty, Sino against ROC. So 中美共同防御条约. And you will see that this mark, 中美合作, the U.S. gave Chiang Kai-shek regime a lot of economic aid, military aid, all the aid Chiang Kai-shek needs. Okay? So this mark is appearing on the food. So our parents, when our parents are very young, they will see this on the food, or they will use this to make. They will use the bags of the flowers, 就是面粉袋, to make their clothes. 就是用那个美元的面粉袋去做他们的衣服。Okay, this is the origin of the Taiwan 地位未定论. So the undetermined status of Taiwan. Okay. So here comes the problem. So after 1949, there is one China in Taiwan, one China in the mainland. Okay, who is China? So they fight on diplomatic arenas. So we see that China, or Republic of China, another China is PRC on the mainland. They fight in the United Nations. Okay? And the U.S. strategy, the United Nations, is that they have in each 10 years, they change the policy. So in the first 10 years, so in the 1950s, they use a strategy called, moratorium. That is not to discuss about this. Okay, that is a 搁置, or 是暂缓. Okay, a special term for 暂缓 or 搁置. That is to let's put this on hold. Okay, it's not to talk about who is China. The UN. Okay. But what happens in the late 1950s? In the late 1950s, a lot of countries become independent. So after World War II, a lot of countries just become independent out of control of the former colonial countries, right? So a lot of countries become newly independent countries, and they all, almost all of them support the new China. It's quite nature because, well, it's a reality. The reality is that this China is defeated. So there's no way that you still
believe in the old China, I mean ROC, right? So most of countries, the new country just support the new China. So this moratorium becomes not practical. So they cannot vote for this. And then the US, I mean, started to change another strategy that is called important questions. What is this? So you first use a simple majority to vote that the China issue is an important fact. It's an important question. That is, if you want to pass any resolution, you have to use 2/3 of majority. Okay? So each of the resolution in UN will be passed by a simple majority. That is half. Okay? But if one issue becomes an important question, then you have to pass by a 2/3 of majority. That is, you only need 1/3 to oppose that issue. OK， 就是在 UN 里面的任何的决议案，你只要用简单多数，就是1半就可以通过，多数就可以通过，简单多数。但是你如果是一个就是一个重要议案，你必须要2/3。所以美国就说 ，OK， 我们在讨论这个中国代表权案的时候，你必须要是一个重要议题。意思是说，我们只要掌握1/3就可以拒绝它。Okay, so this strategy lasted for 10 years. Okay, it's very important for ROC to survive 10 more years in the UN. So this tells us that agenda setting is very important. Okay, in each of the institutions, agenda setting, the rules is always the priority. You have to discuss how to make a deal. Okay. 就是那个议程设定跟那个规则设定非常重要。Okay, so important question for the China issue here. And the U.S. starting to persuade ROC to accept the so-called dual representation. That is two Chinas. One China is this China, and another China is this China. However, John Patrick did not accept that. John Patrick insists that 汉贼不两立 we should not live with another China because we are the China, we are the authentic China. So John Patrick did not accept the dual representation. And John Patrick insists to stay in the Security Council. 就是那个时候中华民国还是安理会的常任理事。The permanent member of, I mean, ROC is still the permanent member in the Security Council. And John Patrick insisted not to discuss about it. So that caused a lot of trouble when ROC wants to persuade others to accept that we keep our membership. Because John Patrick do not want to talk about that, do not want to make an exchange or compromise. Okay. So dual representation, but failed. Okay. So in 1961, this is an example of how the stubborn John Patrick failed of the diplomacy here. So the Mongolia joined the UN. According to the constitution of ROC, Mongolia, well, is traditionally the territory of ROC, right? So John Patrick insisted that I will veto in the Security Council. Well, because the permanent members has the veto power, right? And the U.S., spent a lot of efforts to persuade John Patrick not to veto, because if we veto it, and then Russia will veto other states, because they are accepting a lot of new member states there. So U.S. Just try to persuade John Patrick, and finally the U.S. come up with a new approach. That's an important question to make a compromise that John Patrick just give up veto. Okay. So yeah. So this is an example. So because John Patrick insists that Mongolia is ours, it's ROC's, they cannot be an independent country. So it's very stubborn. In 1971, U.S. National Security Advisor Henry Kissinger visited in secret to visit China and then make arrangement on President Nixon's visit to China. and the whole world saying that, okay, so the US is now going to cooperate with China and let China, so it's no longer needed for those countries to recognize the China on Taiwan anymore. Because it's very clear sign, right? So we just lost the vote in the UN. So see, they are very happy. The PRC's representation is very happy. That's our representation here because we know we were lost. So we just stepped down by our own. Okay. So well, there's a lot of stories there. So before that, Chiang Kai-shek still, the U.S. provide with ROC a lot of different options. That is dual representation. And in the final year, in 1971, Chiang Kai-shek finally started to not to oppose the dual representation. Not to oppose is accept, right? But he cannot say that, oh, I accept, because he opposed this for a very long time, right? So he started to not to oppose the dual representation, but it's too late. Okay, it's too late. So it's ridiculous that if you see some history book, you will see that when the U.S. trying very hard to persuade Chiang Kai-shek to negotiate with other countries to we just give up our the membership in the Security Council in exchange for our remaining in the UN. Chiang Kai-shek refused to talk about our seats in the Security Council. He refused. So other countries like, okay, so you don't want to talk, then we don't have to talk. Okay, so we just lose the vote. Okay, so our led by our foreign minister Zhou Zhongkai just stayed down. So before the vote, we just stayed down. Okay. And then it's 1979 that the U.S. switched to diplomatic ties to China. And in the same time, well, the Congress, the U.S. Congress is very angry about that because the president did not notify them. Notify them in a very short time. So the Congress is very angry. So the Congress just passed the Taiwan Relations Act to balance against the president. Okay. So starting from that time, the U.S. adopted the One China policy. One China policy. So basically, the One China policy is that PRC, they recognize PRC is the authentic China, the only China, and then not to specify the legal status of Taiwan. Okay? And the core principle of the One China policy is that the U.S. opposes any unilateral change of the status quo. Okay? This is a common interest, national interest of the U.S. of any unilateral change of the status quo. Okay? 就是在1979年，美国就是跟中国建交，但是国会就很生气，就立刻通过《台湾关系法》，然后开始了所谓的一中政策。一中政策的内容最主要就是承认的 PRC 是为一中，但是并不并不明讲台湾的地位。然后最主要的元素是美国反对任何单方面改变现状。Okay, so the key term is unilateral. Okay, so both Taiwan and China cannot change the status quo by their own. Okay, and the U.S. remains highly flexible on the term here. So, for example, they do not define what is status quo. Okay. So, here are some of the basic facts you have to know. The U.S. has a One China policy. It's very different from China's One China principle. Okay? One China principle, basically there are three elements. The first one is there's only one China, and the second one is PRC represents that China. Okay, PRC is the only legitimate government of the China. Okay. The third one is the most important for China is Taiwan is an inseparable territory of China. Okay, the three principles here is a one China principle， 一中原则。世界上只有一个中国，由中华人民共和国代表中国，然后台湾是中国领土不可分割的一部分。Okay, the three elements, the basic elements of one China principle, very important to China because they want everyone to recognize this, even for the private companies. Okay, for China, they insist that each country, if they want to maintain the diplomatic ties, and they will ask other countries to recognize for one China principle. And also they want many countries, many companies who want to do business in China recognize one China principle. These are the recent examples that China orders the clothes companies or the airlines companies to label Taiwan as part of China. Okay. And according to some of the think tank policy papers, China will ask all of the institutions, like academic institutions, schools, or the travel agencies to recognize this. 就是中国会要求所有的私人公司、个体政府、国外的政府去承认一中原则，也就是说，台湾是中国的一部分。Okay, so this is very important for China. So the U.S. One China policy is that the first two elements understand is one China principle, right? So they admit that there's only one China and PRC is China. However, they only acknowledge China's stance that Taiwan is part of China. Okay? You see one China principle. The first two, the U.S. does admit that. But for this, the U.S. said that we acknowledge, we know, we understand. Okay? Here, we acknowledge China's stance. Acknowledge, not recognize. Okay? And you will see that this is not the term is invented by, I think it's Canada. Sorry, it's Canada or Japan. So, you will see many countries has its own one China policy. And they use different terms, like take notes of, or understand, or something like this. Okay, we know, we understand China's stance. We got it. We take notes. Okay, we do not challenge, but we are not recognize that Taiwan is part of China. That is the one China policy of many countries. Okay, many countries has its own. So the verb here is different. Acknowledge is not recognized. But it's very interesting that if you see the Chinese version of these policies, you will see China always translate acknowledge to 承认 as recognized, but they are different. Okay? So one China policy. So here are some of the very basic documents. I encourage you to read them. Okay? From this U.S. The three communique of China and the U.S. The first one is also known as 上海公报. The second one is 建交公报 when they established a diplomatic tie. The third one is 817公报, established in August 1880, 817公报. Let's read some of them. Well, all of the important documents are listed on the American Institute in Taiwan. This is a de facto embassy of the U.S. Okay, de facto means that it's not a pure or 100% legal embassy, but it's special ones, almost embassy. Okay, and it's established under the Taiwan Relations Act， 就在台湾关系法下面成立的这一个 AIT。Okay. It's not an official one, but it's an unofficial one. It's a very special one. Okay. But that, I mean, all of the statements there, directly equals to America's official one. Okay. So you see anything there is equivalent to anything on the State Department. Okay. 就是你在 AIT 上面看到任何东西，就直接代表美国政府，就直接代表美国的国务院，直接代表。Okay. So in this 1972 communique, after President Nixon's visit to China, they established this, and the Chinese side stated, okay, the U.S. side says that they want to pursue to establish the relations. The most important part is that the United States acknowledges, okay? Well, there's a hyphen there because on the official paper it's in two different lines, okay? So there's a hyphen there, so on the different lines. Acknowledge that all Chinese on either side of Taiwan Strait maintain there is but one China in that. Okay, so the US says something, Chinese say something, and the US side declared, the United States acknowledge that all Chinese on either side of the Taiwan Strait maintain there is but one China, and that Taiwan is part of China. What does that mean? 美国说我知道了，在海峡两岸的中国人都认为只有一个中国，而且台湾属于中国。What's the most interesting term here? The U.S. acknowledged that all Chinese on either side of the Taiwan Strait maintain that there's one China and the Taiwan part of China. All Chinese, right? This term. Okay, think of it. The Chinese in mainland says China is Taiwan is part of China, and the Chinese in Taiwan say Taiwan is part of China. Fine, but how about Taiwanese? Okay, think of it again. 所有的海峡两岸的中国人认为台湾属于中国。所有的海峡两岸的中国人认为台湾是中国的一部分，台湾属于中国。那台湾人呢？ Okay. All Chinese on either side of Taiwan Strait says that Taiwan is part of China. And how about Taiwanese? They purposely not mention Taiwanese because on that time there's no idea as a Taiwanese. I mean, because in Chiang Kai-shek regime, in the dictatorship, I mean they do not allow Taiwanese to become Taiwanese or identify themselves as Taiwanese, right? And also the Americans know that. So they specifically, purposely decided this. All Chinese know that, okay, Taiwan is part of China. But if you see some historical records that the American says that the determination of the nation is very important. That is, the American believes in the so-called 民族自觉, self-determination. So they will not regulate, I mean, the Taiwanese, probably what Taiwanese want to be. Okay? So America knows that, understands that, all Chinese say this. But they are not talking about the Taiwanese issue. Okay? So it's an art of diplomacy. Okay? 就是外交是有艺术，可能所有的用字都必须要非常的精确。Okay. Well, let's stop here. And we will continue next week
China and the US relationship. Okay. So we will announce because of the 就是那个名单还在变动。The registration of the class is still changing, so we will make sure everyone is on the list and we will have a group for you. And we will start the group presentation 2 weeks later. Okay? Any questions you have? Thank you.